My dirty little secret back surgeons don't want you to know about. Welcome, everybody. It's Jason Barlow, RMT, and I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform any stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality. So what is my dirty little secret, you're asking? This is with respect to dealing with, managing, helping yourself eliminate any back pain that you're currently struggling with. This is one of the most beautiful exercises that I think I've ever been taught. It's shared with me by CHEK, who is the founder of the CHEK Institute down in San Diego, California. And I remember meeting CHEK way back when, and would have been about 1999, maybe 2000. And he was teaching at Loughborough University back in the UK at a health and fitness conference. I'd never heard of this guy before. And I walked into the lecture room, and I'd been to university for 3 years. This was a different university, but nonetheless, the layout of the lecture rooms was the same. You know, a number of seats that were arranged in a bench form that went up on a tiered levels. And at the front then, big projector screen. And obviously the lecturer would be up front in his area. And having done university for 3 years, I'd seen that fairly full with students at, doing my sports science degree. I walked into the room where CHEK was, and there were people sat on the stairs. You had to kind of shuffle through and around. There were people packed tight into the seats all around, and people stood. It was almost standing room only. It's like, man, this guy's got something to say, all these people turning up. I was blown away. Just one lecture of his, and what he shared was so applicable and so practical, and was proven through his personal body and what he had to share with us, and his professional capacity working with the Chicago Bulls, professional teams in all sports and capacities and athletes and you name it. And so he was living proof of what he was sharing with people, and he was obviously then sharing that with professional athletes all over the world. And I learned more in 1 hour, although he ended up lecturing for 3. In that one first hour, I learned more applicable information to help people relieve their pain, help people with their fitness goals than I'd learned in 3 years at university. Because this man had taken it and lived it and had read so extensively in all these different threads of dealing with human health, happiness, vitality. And he was a living proof of what he was sharing with us. And I remember him saying that if you want to take nutrition advice from somebody, have that person take their shirt off to you and illustrate what it is that they're sharing with you, because we can get a lot of talkers, but we need to be following people who have actually lived what it is that we may be going through. Where am I at? Go read my book. I share my story in my book. It's free still to download. Just go to my website, jasonbarlowrmt.com. I come from a background where I struggled with health issues growing up as a child, and especially mental health. It wasn't really labeled and identified, and it wasn't really something that was well supported at that time. But now, having gone through those experiences, and now as a parent and as a professional in health, I see the influence that that had on my life. And you can read more about that in my book at the beginning, as I introduced. But in essence, I struggle with a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry. And as a result, then I had physical representations of that anxiety and of that worry. And thankfully, through basketball, it was one of the first modalities, and then reading, and then people like CHEK, who were living proof of what the possibilities are for achieving more health and vitality. I've learned what I've learned, and now I'm here sharing this information with you. And I've talked quite a bit here just about me, and I'm going to get to you. So my dirty little secret back surgeons don't want you to know about revolves around an exercise that was taught to me by the very CHEK, and it's called the horse stance. Now, if you want to go check that out and you want to skip my blurb on it, just go down below in the description. I've given a website link, or it's actually a YouTube link. You just copy and paste that into your browser, and you can go follow my guideline. It's about a 3-minute video, and it teaches you what the exercise is and how to execute it properly. But here's what I want you to know by way of fundamentals. So especially when it comes to back pain, very often we get a little bit misconstrued with some of the information that we receive. Oh, it's my core. Oh, it's my food. Oh, it's my back. My glutes aren't firing. We get this mishmash of information, of which all of it usually is quite valid. And honestly, it's usually all that needs to be applied, but it comes out as all different angles. We don't know quite where to start. So what I'm saying to you is, if this is your first video or your first podcast listening to me, just follow this guideline today. And then inch by inch, you can add more layers to it. So the focus of today is to narrow in and focus on a corrective exercise that's going to help to recalibrate your spinal muscles, and in particular to recalibrate them in synchrony together with other muscles. Because no muscle is designed to really just be working in isolation. I mean, it does, and it can somewhat. And obviously bodybuilders do it extensively to get these muscles very concentrated and focused and large. But everyday movement is not in isolation. It's a very integrated movement. So we've got to take exercises from being isolated to integrated. Because if we just stay with isolated, we get certain goals, but it doesn't cross over to then functionality in daily life and human movement. So we've got to get that nice spectrum going on. And I would say most of the time, we want to be in an integrated, that's a big bang exercise where we're using a lot of muscles in one particular pattern. That way, then it shortens your workout time. You get more bang for your buck, and your results speak for themselves. And it translates across to how you move your body in a daily context. So back surgeons want you to come in and get back surgery. But I'm here to say to you that there's a lot that you can do before you go down that pathway. I'm not saying that back surgeons have no purpose or that back surgery is irrelevant and has no function. It does absolutely. But there's usually a lot that we can do to prevent surgery in the first place. And there's usually a lot that we can accelerate our recovery should we need to have back surgery, because there's certain conditions we need to have. We need to have surgery. But this little secret I'm sharing with you today can make a huge difference in the health of your back, the longevity of spinal health, and therefore mitigate and reduce the chances of you even needing to go down that pathway of back surgery. So this exercise is called the horse stance. It involves you getting down on your hands and knees. And fundamentally after that, it's about learning how to recruit the deep abdominal muscles through a breathing motion that I described last week. My secret sauce for less pain. Last week's podcast, last week's video centered in on learning how to release the scalene muscles and recruit the proper muscles for breathing. This exercise this week now goes a step deeper and starts to describe how the deep abdominal wall supports the spine. Now, important to know, the deep abdominal muscles, once you start to breathe properly, will actually help to naturally lift pressure, decompress, that is, the lower section of the spine and the pelvis. So just by breathing properly, that has a natural therapeutic effect upon your spine. Secondarily to that, we want to then engage the pelvic floor muscles. Now, these are the muscles that prevent you from going to the bathroom unnecessarily. Now, obviously, some females more than males, usually post-pregnancy, they might have a deterioration, a weakness that arises in those particular muscles due to the pregnancy, due to any possible trauma that's occurred during the delivery of their child. And as such, then those muscles become weakened. And so especially for any females watching this video and you have back or pelvic pain, pay particular attention to what I'm sharing. But all guys should be doing this too, because guys have issues too in pelvic floor, prostate issues, and so forth, that this is valuable information for both genders. So as you learn how to recruit the deep abdominal muscles through correct breathing, when you perform an exercise, whether it's the horse stance or any exercise, and you are putting more exertion into what you're doing, it's important to know how to breathe properly, flatten the abdominal wall. And as you draw the belly button inward to flatten the abdominal wall, you're actually squeezing those pelvic floor muscles. And you know what that's doing at that point? It's connecting the deep abdominal muscles, the rectus abdominis muscles down the front, the pelvic frame, the pelvic muscles, and most importantly, where we're going with today's exercise, is all the spinal muscles that run the length of your spine to the base of the skull. They actually get recruited and work in synchrony, ideally they should, with the pelvic floor and with the abdominal muscles. But if you don't squeeze the pelvic floor muscles, you might be firing the abdominal muscles, you might be somewhat engaging the spinal muscles, but you need to get the two to work in synchrony, because remember, we don't want to be working just in isolation. We got to be working in an integrated fashion. The pelvic floor is the gateway. It's the pelvic gateway that connects the front of the abdomen to the spine. Essentially, it's what we class as a letter J, running from your rib cage down underneath the anus, the sex organs, and along the length of the spinal way all the way to the base of the skull. A long letter J. But it doesn't look like a letter J if you're not recruiting the pelvic floor muscles. That's the message that I want to share with you, because once you get that engaged, you'll have a better, healthier abdomen strength, stability. You'll have a healthier digestive system. You'll have a stronger pelvic floor. It'll also then start to strengthen all of those spinal muscles along the length of your back and your spine. And that way, that dirty little secret I just shared with you is going to help you to overcome possibly that need for back surgery. Or if you do need to have the surgery, it's certainly going to make a huge difference in your recovery post-surgery. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found that of benefit today. Remember, down below the description, there's 2 links. One is for the blog of more information of what I've shared with you today. And also below that is the video link. You can go check it out and get that horse stance going in your program. Remember, whilst you still can, go get my free digital book at jasonbarlowrmt.com. It is called the 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief. If you're getting tidbits of information every week, condense it into this book. It's free for now, but not for much longer. You can also go get a physical copy from Amazon.com. Just put in the 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief, and it'll deliver it straight to your door. Thank you for joining me. Remember, your muscle health is my #1 priority, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye.